Welcome to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host. Here's our format. A bunch of guys sitting around a bar. There's no bar. Having drinks. There's no drinks either. But we're talking business, and you, the audience, are listening in. The Best of Investing is actually a radio show that has been around since August 2010, and it airs every Saturday on Fox News Radio, 9:10 a.m. at 1 p.m. Now, we're not a political show. We're strictly business, so everyone will be happy with that. We'll have various speakers, guest speakers, attorneys, accountants, economic advisors. The cool thing about this is that you're actually getting to see scenes behind the scenes. So we all have headphones on because we're recording a radio show that is going to be airing on the air on radio. But in addition, you get to see what happens during the commercial breaks, how we prepare for the next segment. So it's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of levity because I like to try to throw a little bit of humor in there because, just business by itself sometimes gets a little boring. So you got to always kind of break things. Remember, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. Are you ready? Let's go.
He gets locked in. He's locked in.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm just trying to get some
So
extra
I
room
always
here.
have to say, it's a great idea, whatever.
Okay.
Okay, give me some more.
Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910. Always relevant and sometimes irreverent. We here present the valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day for those of you listening for the first time. Imagine a few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, darn it, talking business with you, the audience, listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm honored to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's premier private lender. You're also a lender, aren't you?
Yeah, easier for you to say.
Yeah, it is. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Today's trivia theme is the old Addams Family. You remember that?
Of course, okay. I saw all those.
I was more of a Munsters fan, but that's okay. And today's special guest is Robert Schiff, who is a mortgage broker and has been since 1994. Prior to becoming a mortgage broker, Robert was a real estate agent, and he has over 30 years of experience buying, remodeling, and selling houses. And before we actually get into saying hello to you, I wanted to come up with this interesting fact here that the cruise ship disaster that just happened, how much do you think it's going to cost the cruise industry? Take a guess.
Oh, in terms of notoriety, huh?
Yeah, I mean, with the pictures that everyone's seen of the ship, like half.
That is
I don't
a
think
great picture.
Isn't that a great picture? I would suggest
but
that they put that on their brochures.
I don't think they accept that.
They wouldn't accept that. Okay,
advice, no.
Take a guess as to how much you think it's going to cost, though.
I would guess
probably the millions.
Hundreds of millions.
Exactly.
Really?
Do you remember a few years ago with Tiger Woods and the old infidelity thing?
Mm-hmm.
They figured that cost golf $1 billion.
You don't say.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I wonder if someone's going to sue Tiger on that, but I guess you can't kind of do that sort of thing. So
he wasn't on that cruise, now was he?
No, not that I know of. Okay, Robert Schiff. We've got a lot of great questions for you, and I think Mark.
Great real estate.
Actually, I've got the first one here.
You do.
Okay, how can I determine if I am eligible to refinance my house? With my house being worth less than it was several years ago.
That's
a really good question, and it really is pertinent to so many people. Basically, anybody that either bought their house, I'd say, in the last 5 years, or refinanced it within the last 5 years and got a large chunk of their equity out, is now facing, even in the Bay Area, probably being, it's called upside down, where they possibly owe more than the current value of the house. And conventional lending hasn't allowed borrowers to get those loans, but there are some government programs that there's been a lot of hoopla about that would allow a bunch of those people to refinance and potentially lower their payments so they would be more likely to stay in the house.
Okay, well, you kind of jumped ahead on one of those questions, but that's okay.
Well, that's actually we keep seeing those in the newspapers almost on a regular basis. They keep talking about these proposed government programs. Is there anything actually been approved that's going to be enacted that might help people that are underwater?
Well, the programs that are coming online now are the second generation, so there's already been one generation of programs available.
Did it actually work though? I didn't
Yeah,
actually
I
hear
heard
that
all these
anybody
people-
that.
Exactly.
Compared to the projections,
Yeah.
they made it sound like it was going to take care of millions of people.
Right.
And the fine lines, when you got down to it, there were little stipulations and footnotes that said, well, you had to have not gotten a loan after a certain date in 2009, or, I mean, I've unofficially helped people try to get through these programs, and the lenders don't seem to really want to help people in the programs. That's been my experience.
Did they not get anything out of it?
People in the industry are talking, and they can't figure out why. For instance, I have a client of mine who I'm just trying to help, and they own a house in Fairfield. They owe $300,000 on it.
Okay.
The house is worth about $175,000.
Okay, so they're upside down.
They're upside
Quite a lot,
down, and
significantly.
they've stopped their payments. And I'm trying to work with them, with the bank, to modify. And I'm telling the bank, these people don't want to leave the house. They're willing to pay. Why don't you lower the interest rate from 6% to something more reasonable, like it is now, 4%, and maybe lower the loan to $250,000? Then you'll have a performing loan that's more than the value of the house. And if you don't, the people will stop paying. You'll foreclose on them at a great expense to yourself. You have to list it for sale. At that time,
Yeah, but Robert, you're talking logic.
Yeah,
They're talking
that makes
logic to a
perfect
bank.
sense.
but it's bankers, and there must be some way that we're not aware of that when they foreclose, they get reimbursed by some part of the federal government.
They must, because I remember back in 2008 when this whole thing was starting to unfold, we had people who were, maybe they were immigrants, they were legal immigrants, and they'd have maybe two families who owned the house together, and they wanted to stay in the house. But when interest rates had gone up, it made it cost prohibitive. And even though they were upside down, they said, listen, we still want to pay our mortgage payment, but we just can't pay what the new payment is. I mean, it gets kind of ridiculous.
Well, and this has
They're
been
not
the
thinking.
problem, all for the last couple of years, is that the complaints that the Obama administration has put forth these loan modification programs and supposedly provided incentives to banks to work with borrowers, but anecdotally, and Robert, here's just another example. I'm just not hearing a lot of success, and it's amazing because your example makes perfect sense. If they take that property back, they're not even going to get the 175 that it's
That's
worth,
right.
because after the holding costs and the legal and et cetera, they'll be lucky to put $100,000 in their pocket.
Well, especially when people find out it's bank owned.
Sure.
Automatically they'll reduce it. So what did you get successful on that, or is that still being work in progress?
It's still a work in progress.
Yeah, well, it takes a long time to go
I've
through the
been
channels.
successful with one client, and unfortunately, after the modification program went through and they were starting, he died. So that's been my record. It
That
hasn't
was a little
happened.
inconvenient. I wonder if that was
Yes.
the cause of it. It could be in many cases.
So Robert, we've got these super low interest rates, and how is refi activity? Is it? I know it was quite busy a year ago. I know a number of agents like yourself in the market who were doing gangbusters there for a while. I mean, how's the activity now that we're going into 2012?
Well, right now the rates are maybe not this minute, but within the past week or so, they're lower than they've ever been.
Right, they're in the threes now. Is that
They're-
correct?
They're in the threes. It's even there's some 10-year loans that are under 3%.
Yeah,
Some
we hear
government
those.
programs.
Hear those
Wow.
radio
2
ads.
point, yeah, and they're real loans.
Are any points on that?
No, everything
Wow.
that they quote pretty much is without points.
Is there much volume on that, though? I guess that was my question. Is that are there many people who are qualifying for those? Especially, if you've got a
That's a good question.
significant percentage of the population that's underwater, and then you've got the other issue. Do I qualify? Do you have a high FICO score? Can you
Well, what's the
verify your
LTV?
income? What's
Right.
the loan to value? I mean,
Yeah.
how much of that activity is actually
The
happening?
loan procedure is very medical now. They really look at everything.
Wait, no more
every piece of
115% loan to value
paper.
loans?
No, someone called me the other day and said, I'd like to refinance, and I said, what's your job? He said, I'm unemployed, and I asked if he still had a TV and watched the news at all, because So, I mean, it's amazing to me.
There's
that
no more
some
stated
people
income
get-
loans, as I
There
understand. Is that
actually are a few that are stated. Someone
really?
just told me a local bank in Marin is doing seconds that are stated income, but
On a second?
on a second.
What are the rates?
mortgage, just prime plus 1 or 2. So
Whoa, what kind of LTV?
they'll go up to 75%. So,
Yeah, but it doesn't
there
matter
may
how big the
be, there
first
may
is?
be catches once you get into it that you have to deposit a large, become a client of the bank for all your other resources. I'm not sure of the particulars.
Yeah, if you need a $100,000 loan, you have to deposit $125,000 in a CD.
Yes, I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not that bad. I'm
But
just
generally, no, that the stipulations for getting a loan are much harder than they've been. It's a reaction to the just fog the mirror and get a loan that we all went through, and
Sure.
it's sort
That's what
of
we used
where
to
we
say,
are
fog the
now.
mirror.
But as someone said to me a couple months ago, if you look back in the 60s and the 70s, especially the 60s, your choice was to go to a bank and get a 30-year fixed loan, and it was 2 points plus $250, and you had to show your taxes and qualify. And so that's the way it had been for decades, and we tend to forget that that was the basis of real estate
But
financing.
then people got, I don't want to say smart, but I guess opportunistic and said, well, if I can package a whole bunch of these loans together and sell them on the secondary market and blah, 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 blah. Okay, we are going to go to our first commercial break. And remember, the theme is the old TV show, The Addams Family. What is the name of the hand that helps everyone around the house? Remember, the theme is the Addams Family. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Check them out. The weather's going to start getting good here in a couple of months. You're going to want to visit them. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What is the name of the hand that helps everyone around the house on the Addams Family? 888-912-1190. Make sure you include your name, address, email address, and phone number, and speak slowly and spell it out, please, when you call. And we will be right back. Here's segment number 1.
All right, well, that's an
Right.
easy one. So
Yeah.
which program was Lurch on? Was that
Yeah.
that Addams Family or
Yes.
the Munsters?
No,
that was
it.
Adams.
I like that. Do that. Do that.
How do
I like
you,
that. First I ask the question.
How do
And
you decide the questions and find the answers?
He's just that's
that's
creative.
secret. the next
The secret sauce.
The next trivia question is going to be. Next trivia question is going to. Oh yeah, headsets off. Yeah, because it's.
All right, all right.
Next trivia question is going to be, what's my favorite color? Green. I mean blue. Ready? Here we go. Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910s. This is the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. For those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hoff of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Now write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. And today's trivia theme is TV show spin-offs. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. We're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now today's guest is very special. Why? Because he is, that's why. His name is Lou Botmal, and he is an investment advisor. And I asked Lou to come on the show as we've received emails from people who are asking certain questions that he is best able to answer. Lou, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Thanks, it's great to be here. I'm happy to be a guest.
Excellent. Okay, now let's.
We're happy to have you.
So far,
So far, yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see how you do later on.
So, good day in the market that you're here too.
That's right. Yeah, the market was up quite a bit today.
Now, why was it up? Is it up because of Obamacare passed,
Because
or
more buyers than sellers. That's what my dad used to say.
No, well,
what are they so happy about anyway on this Friday?
Yeah.
well,
Spain and Italy are in the World Cup, and one of them will win, and then the economy in that country will be good. So
See, my
everything's
uncle is
fine
from
in Europe.
Germany. Is
Okay,
really
well, hold on.
upset
Let's let
about
our
yesterday.
guest speak.
well, no, to your point, I think didn't Germany beat Greece in soccer? Wasn't that the big story? And they're like, oh, we're going to own
yes.
you in soccer and own your country. So it's like a double whammy. It's like total domination. No, we had a lot of interesting stuff that went on this week. I think, frankly, everyone's tired of the up 100 points, down 100 points every single day. We had a
Tell
nice
me about
rally on Friday, and a lot of it had to do with Obamacare getting passed. People like to know what's going to happen. The undercurrent of the market really is right now, I think, three big things. Predominantly, that is, who's going to be the next president. Everyone has their opinion. The debt ceiling debate, which comes up again, which was here last summer. If you guys remember this, we had the big sell-off. And then, of course, all the tax legislation that everyone keeps talking about on all the TV stations that, we really need to know what to do. And companies don't know what to do. Companies are paralyzed or frozen going, if I make this decision, how's tax policy going to affect me? How am I going to hire people with the tax policy that could have a huge payroll tax increase? They could have huge capital gains taxes, overseas taxes. All these things, taxes are driving our economy right now. So what we did find out is, one, the Obamacare situation is settled for now. Stabilized and will be legislated, probably down the road. And then more importantly, the EU, as you mentioned, came through and said, hey, we're going to, stabilize things. Spanish yields dropped. You guys are in the mortgage industry and finance. Popularity drives the price of bonds. We can talk about it later on, but really when you see these Spanish yields go down, it means everyone starts buying their bonds again. They're going to be in business. That's really the...
Is that anything like Spanish fly?
Oh, man.
Mark.
Well, we're all on our way to
Family show,
Tijuana.
people. Family show.
Okay. Yeah, red Solo cups aren't a family show. I don't want to say, but... Yeah.
One of the reasons we wanted to have you on also was we've been receiving emails from people who are asking what a 529 plan is. And I know it's not a signal for football hike, So can you explain what is a 529 plan?
520 plan, it's, let's keep it simple. It's a way to save for college on a tax-deferred basis. The greatest benefit that we've seen out of financial product probably in the last 20 years is the fact that if you use that money to pay for a college expense, you pay no tax on any gains in that product. So if you put $10,000 away in 2000 and it's worth $20,000 today and your child goes off to college and you pay that college $20,000 for tuition expense, living expenses, books, other items that you have, boom, that $20,000 comes out tax-free.
And what kind of limitations? It doesn't have to be graduate school, or can it be graduate school? Can it be both undergrad and graduate?
Well, that's a great question. This is still bantered around a little bit. Really what it's supposed to be for is college, but colleges are secondary educational institutions. So I've talked to people who have kids that have gone to culinary school, some vocational colleges. They can use the money for those things. What this thing was utilized for initially were grandparents passing money down to grandkids. And years ago, you remember the old UGMA or UTMA accounts that everyone had?
Uniform Gift to Minors Act.
Right, and here's Grandma's Pac Bell stock, here's Grandpa's Pacific Gas and Electric stock, which are great stocks, pay a dividend. But if you sold them, you paid a tax.
Yeah.
And if you sold them, under the age 18, there's a kiddie tax. But more importantly, the kid could go buy some Spanish fly with his new Ferrari, his girlfriend, down in Tijuana. The money was not controlled. This way, it's meant for specific expense. And more importantly, the trustee or the person who gifts the money, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, controls the money. So buy and hold, if all four of us were brothers and someone didn't go to college, we could take his 529 and apply it towards someone else's college expense.
It's sort of like that HSA, the health savings account, where you get a tax deduction and then it builds up tax-free, as long as you use it for medical expenses.
Right.
When it goes in, is it avoiding taxes at the time, like an IRA? Or?
Like you get a tax deduction.
Actually not. You don't get a tax deduction. Okay. So
it's after-tax dollars you put into the...
After-tax dollars, and they grow tax-deferred, though.
So it's like a...
It's like a Roth.
Like a Roth IRA.
It's like
Is it
a
tax
Roth.
deferred or tax-free? That builds up. Because like when you use it for secondary education, you don't pay the taxes on the money.
Right, it's tax-deferred buildup.
Okay.
And the money comes out tax-free.
Tax-free. Okay.
Now, there are three
That's
states...
even gooder.
Yeah. Now, I know this isn't a part of our broadcast. Pennsylvania, Kansas, and Missouri allow you to take a state... they allow you to take a state deduction for contributing to a 529, but it
If
doesn't
you,
affect
if you go to
California.
their state university.
California's,
yeah.
they don't give you any kind of deduction.
Well, I don't know.
No, California does not. So now the
We
thing,
don't believe in education.
No, the struggle has been that people don't understand how these work or how to get them, and they're you can get them from your advisor, you can get them from any local broker dealer, and really what happened was states sponsored these things. So you have the state-sponsored 529 plan. So fund companies contracted with states to manage the money. That's what gets confusing. Like you pick any fund company out there in the complex. It could be an index fund or a managed stock fund. It's like, well, I'm with this company. Well, no, that company's based in this state. It could be state. Your 529 could be specific to the state of Missouri. It doesn't matter. You can go to school anywhere or live anywhere and still contribute to that 529. And that's what's confusing for a lot of people. Is like, well, who am I with and what's going on? It just doesn't matter.
And then grandma and grandpa can decide where to invest the funds, right? Be it,
There are certain
mutual fund.
there's certain investment choices in there, and the big thing is you can't buy individual securities. You can go into a spot where you can be totally allocated towards securities or totally allocated towards bonds if you want to. But the other thing that most people dealt with were these age-based portfolios. And that's where a lot of confusion came up, especially around 2008. Even if you're enrolled in college and of the age of maturity, like let's say you invested in the 2012 fund when these first came out, and now it's 2012 and the market drops 10%, your funds will drop 10% even though you're in college, the money's still invested. People say, oh, gee, once you hit the age of maturity, when you're supposed to go to college, the money's all in cash or it's all in bonds. Not true. It's still invested if it's in those core portfolios, and that's a big mistake a lot of people make.
So we're talking about 529 plans, and you said they're similar to a Roth IRA, meaning you make contributions, and the money is supposed to be used for education, and it can grow in there tax-free if it's used for education. Can you set up an account with, like, for example, I have a Roth IRA account. Can I go to that company, the custodian, and do they do 529 plans, or is it who do I have to go to set up a 529 plan?
We'll have to be completely compliant, so you have to talk to your tax advisor before making any decisions. But you cannot roll over a Roth IRA into a 529 plan.
No,
but you
I
can
guess
talk to the
question-
same provider.
Yeah, same provider.
Talk to the same
That's
provider, but you can't
question.
take the Roth money and put it into a 529 plan.
Yeah,
No,
so I guess do most companies, if they can set you up in an IRA or be it a Roth or whatever, can they also do 529 plans? I guess
For the most part, yeah.
Most-
Oh, yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So, yeah, 'cause I was
Absolutely.
confused
Yeah.
about the state sponsorship and whether you had to do it through some state of California website or something really.
You can. The best resource is savingforcollege.com because they have a listing on every single 529 plan. They also cover the Coverdale Savings Account, which we don't need to go into. Right now, it's another form of saving for college as well. But that website, again, savingforcollege.com, is a great resource to research anything that's been offered to you or any ideas you might have on 529 investing.
Okay, we're in studio with Lou Botmal, who's a registered investment advisor, and when we cut to commercial, we're going to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, Lou's going to still be in the studio here. We're going to get into other retirement type vehicles. Here is the first trivia question: Laverne and Shirley was a spin-off of what TV show? Hold on, don't answer yet. Don't touch that dial because we are going to be right back. Excellent.
Awesome.
Good job.
Good first segment.
Yeah. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money, Robert Chip of RPM Mortgage. I'm just going down the list here, and Lou Botmal, who's a registered investment advisor. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. This is TV spin-offs is the theme. Laverne and Shirley was a spin-off of what TV show?
1, 2, 3
Hey.
o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Okay, Mark, go ahead and answer.
Happy days.
Correctamundo, as the Fonz would say. All right, and Lou, one of the reasons, again, I wanted to have you in the studio here was because I received an email from a listener who said, you know, I'm age 60 and I lost a lot of money in the stock market from 2008 to 2010, and how do I go ahead and recoup that? Now, Mark and I were talking off air that, you know, I'm 52 and a third. So, do you have any advice for us 52 and a third?
Yeah, right.
And also the 60-year-old, what kind of retirement advice do you give?
Well, it's first of all, it's challenging. I respect everyone's participating in the market and what's happened. I'm concerned like you are. As an advisor, it's tough talking to clients on a daily basis who have lost money, with some investment decisions that didn't work out, and we're all in this together. So my encouragement, first of all, is to start talking to people, not family members, but advisors and other people.
I saw the paper this week that there was a poll of who plans on retiring at age 65, and like 74% of the respondents said they were not.
Oh, yeah, that's
Unbelievably high percentage.
That goes right into the point. I mean, really, when it comes to
what percentage of them had a job? Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of them had to go back to work.
Yeah, no, this idea of a retirement plan, especially after the age of 60, I mean, let's face the facts. The economy's not lying to us right now. With very low interest rates, very low CD rates, there's not a lot of secure investments out there that people are used to and say, well, geez, if I just park this in the bank or in this single investment, I'll receive a nice income. For those who have lost money, the big thing is this. If you're going to live 3 years, don't worry about it. If you're going to live 25,
Just have fun.
sorry, got to be direct.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know what? You make a good point. It's not just the fact that people lost money, but the interest rates are so low that it's not that they can afford to just have X amount of dollar unless you're, got a couple of $1 billion just sitting around in a 1% account. That's fine.
And that goes directly to my point. It really is a function of getting a plan together. How much am I going to get in Social Security? Do I have a Medicare supplement? What am I going to retain my home? Am I going to travel? What extraordinary expenses could occur? Do I need a new roof, a new car eventually? All these things will come up. But the biggest thing we just joked about here, 53 and a half or 59 or 69 or 78 nowadays, is people are living longer. So the struggle is this. People are used to the sunset provision that everyone who has a firefighter, police officer, or government employee relative, you just flip a switch and you're retired. The income turns on and are all ready to go. Us as individuals now who are responsible for our own retirements through this 401k program we have or other retirement vehicles are really stuck with how much money do I have and what can I do to make it last as long as possible.
Well, I've already done my plan. I figured out I can retire at 147.
Perfect.
Or it's like my friend said, his life was perfect as long as he died in the next 18 months.
Well, that's why the popularity of all these programs for, how to make money on the side, everything from multi-level marketing to just, how to get in business for yourself, how to do something entrepreneurial for extra income, how to make money on the internet. I mean, that's the stuff that's never been more popular than it is today for that very reason that we're trying to catch up. Those of us whose 401ks, as people like to say, turned into 201ks, or our real estate portfolio is not what it used to be, and we're all looking around for ways to make
I figured I could make a lot of money by taking out a life insurance policy on myself. But then I realized that I can't be my own beneficiary, and that wouldn't work too well, would it?
No, you cannot. It's unfortunate. I mean, and really the key is this, is that if you participate with those that are participating in the economy, you will eventually, not immediately, eventually with patience, be rewarded with investment returns that mimic the economy. Mm-hmm. And that's the big step that everyone forgets. Everyone wants to be in the market one day, out the next. Geez, if it's going up, I'm happy. Like this week, at the end of this week, I should say. A few weeks ago, I'm extremely upset and frustrated. That's not investing. That's tactical investing, which is a whole other conversation we have another time. But really what it's about is sticking with the plan, sticking with those companies that are going to be around, that people are going to do business with. We're going to brush our teeth. The lights are on. Oh my goodness, those are two people we're going to be working with in the future, no matter what happens to the economy. And maybe invest there or work with an advisor and say, well, geez, I can't risk all my money, but maybe my allocation should be set differently. Like, if I have $100,000, I can't go below 50. If I go below 50, I'm really going to have a problem. Okay, well, then let's take, $40,000 or $50,000 and put it in some type of income producing asset that works for you. And then take the other 50, invest it maybe in dividend producing securities or other things that aren't super risky but will provide some return and participate in the economy. Because the bad news here is costs are going up. Interest rates are going to change. And if you don't prepare yourself, it's going to affect you down the road.
What kind of income investments do you like nowadays?
Well, if you're in a taxable account, there are municipal bonds, both on a federal level, bonds that are located around the United States. There's bonds located here in the state of California. Most are worried about the fact that California doesn't have a great balance sheet right now, which is very true.
Yeah, but it's sort of like Chrysler. When they were having big problems in the late 70s, I remember telling my dad, he was worried about, because I said, hey, I think we should buy Chrysler, because I can't imagine the government letting them go bankrupt. There are too many employees. Same thing with California. I don't think the federal government's going to allow the entire state of California to default on its general obligation.
What about individual municipalities? I can say that.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
one.
we had the news at Stockton this week, and
Yeah.
that's a headline. That's a headline that's going to be thrown in everyone's face for a while. Why invest in munis with this problem? So, Lou, why'd you bring it up? Well, one of the main reasons is this: by mandate, the money that comes out of the Treasury of the state of California has to go pay off municipal interest first before it does many other things. So before people get paid their paychecks as government employees, municipal bond interest gets paid. So you're
That's
pretty
general obligation bonds.
general obligation
Yeah,
bonds, and also some
revenue
city bonds. Now,
Okay.
granted that Stockton's a problem. Other communities like Stockton have had issues, but by and large, there's a lot of, one quote a lot of managers use is, "I don't buy anything that's outside of 7 miles of the coast of California," because that's older real estate in places where people are going to pay their taxes for keeping the water on, keeping the toilets
Well,
flushed.
Vallejo did file bankruptcy.
Yes.
And I haven't really followed it recently, but
Yeah, I don't know what
anyone-
happened with that.
It still exists, right? Vallejo's still there. I know I drive through it.
I
when
think
go
I
to
drove
it.
through it, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Vallejo does exist. Stockton's going to exist. They're going to refinance themselves and come back, hopefully financially stronger. The big key is this to remember. Talking to municipal managers, and I had a conversation with a couple last week. Look at what happened in San Jose on election day. Okay.
What happened on
What's that?
The pension reform bill that got passed.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone talks about the unfunded pension commitment
Sure.
by municipalities and the reason not to buy municipal bonds. And let me tell you, there is a storm brewing across the country, and we're all responsible for it. You can't.
You're responsible. I'm not
Well, no,
responsible.
we can't. Here's my point. I'm
be
being too.
blaming me.
I'm being too serious.
You talking to me?
I'm being too serious here, but in the end, retirement benefits have increased over the last 20 years with a great record market. Now the market's not doing so well, and they're going back saying, "Hey, we got to reduce benefits." Everyone's like, "It's a contract. It can go up. It can't go down."
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's so. I think I read what was it? Rhode Island had another referendum. Other states, and what they're saying is, stay tuned. Like Obamacare, this is going to change. So
just like Social Security. I mean, I honestly do not count on that for when, they'll change the dates. They'll change the fact that, if you have more than $3 in your account, I'm sorry, you're rich. You're not going to get. I mean, something's going to change because you can't just keep.
Well, when they
getting
started
money.
Social Security at the retirement age of 65, I think that was the life expectancy for people.
Right.
So if they
So
had
it's-
gone back to what its original plan was, you wouldn't be getting it till you were 70 or 75, and
Or 85.
if it
Right.
clicked it up to 100,000, which was probably like John Beresford Tipton's millionaire at the time, the Social Security would go up to $1 million.
Well, I had a client who, her husband died in 1961, and he probably put in maybe $3,000 in the whole system, and she was taking out $1,000 a month,
Wow.
and she lived till she was 101.
right.
I mean, and God love her and all that, but she had all the money in the world. She didn't need Social Security, and yet look what happened. I mean, that was a great investment.
Yeah,
Social
yeah,
Security.
for us.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
no,
I mean,
that's really where it worked, and what the problem that we're faced with right now is, not to be an actuary, is the number of people receiving Social Security. That's really the overhang on the government, is that there's 72 million people that are going to receive it, almost a third of our
And they're
population.
going to be collecting it for a longer time than
Right.
was originally planned for.
That's it right in the
But it wasn't last year the first year that they had not done the increase cost of living. But it's not just
Yeah.
the retired people. There are a lot of people who are getting Social Security who haven't put quite as much into the system, and obviously you got to take care of the widows and orphans. But there are a lot of people who take advantage of that. Of that.
There
situation.
can be. I mean, back to retirement planning, to bring this point together, when you're looking at Social Security as your base income and layering, your expenses and what you need on top of it, that's, if you have $100,000, you need $1,000 more a month to live, you're going to have money for 8.3 years. If that same $100,000 earns 4% during that time frame, you'll go for 24 more months or 10 years. That's really what retirement planning is all about. Understanding that your money will last longer in other places than the bank and CDs currently, and you got to implement those changes even though you feel uncomfortable. You invest when you're uncomfortable. Look at 1974 when we're off the gold standard. I mean, we came out of that. So
Yeah, the market dropped 50% between 73 to 75.
Right.
I think it dropped like a lot more. Okay, we're going to cut to our second commercial break, and the TV trivia theme. The theme today is TV show spinoffs. Joey was a spinoff of what TV show? And we will be right back. Good.
Awesome.
And you know the answer to that.
I do.
Yes. Sorry, did I take it down too much? That wasn't that much fun. That wasn't a fun segment.
That's
Talk
okay.
about Bloomberg had two charts yesterday. One was incredible. One is this is the first time in 1955 was the last year where dividend yields were higher than the 10-year Treasury. And the other one was what it costs for us to live to age 78, and we spend the most in the world.
Oh,
Makeup, please.
okay.
Makeup. Wait a minute, is that the same one you used on the dog?
No, the other makeup.
Okay.
Can I get some foundation?
Yeah.
Sorry. Plug in some wrinkles.
See, now every hair's not in place. Right?
No rules.
Yes. I can't do this anymore.
Shoot.
Tell you what.
Let it rip.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn, Robert Schitt, and our special guest, Lou Botmall. And we cut up to the second commercial break. We asked this trivia question. And again, we're talking about TV spin-offs. Joey was a spin-off of what TV show? And I understand 2 out of 3 of our
I'm waiting to hear
Lou
the
knows
answer.
that one.
It's Friends. I think.
Friends. It is
Yes.
correct. That
Oh,
is
that's-
correct. Very good.
I just lost my man card, but that's okay.
That's okay. That's kind of a fun show. Listen, Jennifer Aniston still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she still looks good. Okay.
Enough said.
If my beautiful wife is listening, don't worry, sweetie, you're still number 1. Okay, we received a couple of emails here. Mark, here's a question that we received, an email for you. How can I protect myself against unscrupulous hard money lenders I have dealt with in the past? I'm guessing this is someone who borrowed money.
Yeah, it sounds like a borrower. And for new listeners, my company is Pacific Private Money, also DBA Pacific Private Money Loans. We're a hard money lender based in Marin County, and our typical borrower client is a real estate investor. The banks have generally stopped making loans to real estate investors, so the companies like Pacific Private Money and others have kind of stepped in the last 5 years to fill that void, and so we're busy making loans to people who are buying, fixing, and flipping, or looking to buy rental property, or maybe pull cash out of property you own, because generally if you go to the bank for that request right now, they're going to tell you thanks but no thanks, because they're busy doing refinances these days at 3 3/4%, or
Which we'll get into, Robert.
which we'll get into, yeah, right, yeah.
When they can,
and good for
yes.
them. So, but if you're looking to buy real estate as an investment, because as we were talking about earlier about bonds and stocks and CDs and low interest, and you're trying to figure out how to make some real money with your money, and you want to get in the real estate market, if you need leverage, you got to really come to a hard money lender or private money lender. They're interchangeably, that they're basically the same. The term means the same thing. The listener says, how do I protect myself against unscrupulous hard money lenders? And I'm guessing that person probably ran into somebody who was either doing one of several things. One would be there are people out there, companies out there representing themselves as lenders who would then ask for an upfront fee. And even though that fee might not be a lot of money, it's still real money to you, and it may be anything from $500 to $1,500 to $2,500 to process your loan application. We do not charge any upfront fees, and no good or reputable private money or hard money lender in the Bay Area or California, for that matter, should ever charge you an upfront fee. Secondly, what oftentimes happens, what I hear, is that kind of like a bait and switch, where you're represented, we can do that for you, and here are the terms and conditions. We can do it for 3 points and 12%, for an example. And then they come back after they've strung you along, taking your application, and you need to close because you're going to lose your deposit if you don't close on that purchase. And they say, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, but our lender came back and he's got these concerns, and we got to charge you 6 points, and we've got some extra fees. So all of a sudden it becomes kind of you're stuck, and you end up having to pay higher fees. And again, that is just that no reputable company should ever do that. We certainly don't do that at Pacific.
So how does
So,
one-
go ahead. So, Mark, if somebody's coming to you for a loan, it certainly is dependent on checking them out and how their financial picture is, still somewhat, and how their credit is, and an appraisal, I assume.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, we write letters of interest all the time and say, well, here's the terms and conditions that we believe we can provide to you. And now, certainly sometimes the guy will say, well, I really want a 10%, I don't want to pay 11%. And I'll do my best to get that, and and oftentimes I have to go back and say, look, I've got a guy who's willing to do it, but he wants an 11% rate, do you want to do this? But I'll almost never change my fees. I'm not going to go back and say, well, I know I quoted you 3, but now it's 5 points because the lender wants points, which is usually a lot
But one
of
of the
money.
things that you could do, though, is you could give references of other borrowers who could vouch for the fact that you stuck to your word.
Well, that's the other thing. So if anyone asks for an upfront fee, say thank you for sharing and hang up and call the next
Absolutely.
person on your list. And, you want to go, obviously you want to, if you're doing a Google search for hard money lenders, that's where you're going to oftentimes find those also ran companies that are maybe not legitimate. You might want to go to a website that's called Private Money Lending Guide. They're based in Southern California, Private Money Lending Guide, and that they're not only is there great information on how to find reputable private lenders, but for example, we're listed on that as well as a number of other private lenders all over California.
Well, I got a quick story. When we were doing hard money loans, we had a situation where there was a church buying the building because they were going to turn the old theater into their sanctuary, and they had run into an unscrupulous hard money lender from Oregon. And the guy basically had made certain promises to them, and knowing that they had to close by a certain date. And when the pastor got in to sign the documents at escrow, he snuck in a clause that said that the hard money lender was going to own 51% of the building.
Oh my
And the pastor
God.
caught that and said, wait, we didn't agree to that. And the lender said, yeah, I know, but you don't have a choice now, because if you don't, the price goes way up, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And the pastor just, on his good word, said, you know what, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, asking for references is actually really good, and
That's a really good idea.
because they may not ask for an upfront fee, but that doesn't mean they're going to do something
Exactly.
unsavory at the end when you basically are relying on them to close.
Very good. Okay, Robert, an email we received for you says, I have heard the term buy down the rate. What does it mean, and is it a good idea? That's a pretty good question.
Well, it's a good question. I'll get into it later whether it's a good idea or not, and that depends on a lot of other factors. But anytime you're looking for a mortgage, the banks want to make a certain yield, and they say, we can give you a certain interest rate, and we'll charge you a certain fee for that. Or just take an example, we can give you a 30-year fixed at 4%, and for that there won't be any points. And we could also give you, if you wanted to have a lower interest rate, they would calculate how much money they have to make some other way to give you the lower interest rate, and so they would say, well, we'll give you at 4% at no points, we'd be willing to give you a loan for 3 3/4%, a 1/4% lower, and generally you can get a 1/4% lower for paying 1 point, which is 1% of the loan. So on a $400,000 loan, you would pay $4,000 to reduce your interest rate 1/4%.
Which should be about
And
4 years worth.
Usually it takes about 4.5, 5 years, I tell people, to get their money back from that investment. And a lot of people say, well, the interest rates are so low, I'm never going to move, I'm going to have this for 30 years, I really want to do it. And my experience in 20-some years in the market is, for whatever reason, even at these low interest rates, mortgages tend to have a life of 5 to 7 years. People's family grow, they buy another place, they get a
That's a
job,
good
their
point.
job changes, and they have to change geographically. So I don't like to see people pay today for a hamburger tomorrow. So,
Wimpy, there we go.
That's right.
so it's generally not a good idea, as far as I'm concerned, to pay money to buy down the rate. In fact, you can also go the other way and get a slightly higher interest rate and have the bank pay all the closing costs, which on loans could be $2,000, $3,000, even $4,000 between the bank's fees and the title insurance
So it sounds
fees.
like a case-by-case basis you'd actually
So
look
it
at.
really is something that we'd have to go over, and it depends on how much money they have, what they want to do, and their whole financial picture.
I like the way that you say that, because wouldn't you think that many mortgage loan originators would recommend that they buy down the rate, because maybe some of those points go in their pocket?
Pretty much not. With the new regulations, most of the lenders are they're set, and they're going to get a specific amount. It's going to be 1%, whether the clients buy the rate up or buy the rate down.
Well, that's good to know, because that would be a question that I
Yeah, because
think
most
would
of the
be
money
obvious.
goes to
Yeah,
derivatives, right?
the government's tried to regulate so
Wow.
that individually, the mortgage brokers don't have an incentive to lead them into some one kind of loan. as
And
opposed
who's
to
doing that
another.
credit default swap there, Robert? I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Well, that's good to know that if your mortgage loan originator recommends or says, hey, you can buy down the rate, and if you're going to live in your house, that could save you X number of dollars over 10 years. So that should then be considered a real recommendation. And
Yeah, definitely is.
not
case
a
by
veiled way
case.
for him to put more money in his pocket.
Yeah.
Copper.
Great. All right, stay in the studio. We're going to
Yeah.
get into some more economic stuff. Before we cut to the last commercial break, we had a special trivia contest here where the winner is going to receive 2 tickets on the Hornblower.
Beat it.
All right, so here is the special trivia question. And here are the rules, okay? First of all, can't have won any prize on the Best of Investing. And then also, you have to email Edward tonight, edward@bestofinvesting.com, by midnight tonight. And next week, from all the answers we receive, the correct answers, we're going to randomly pick the winner and announce it next week. And here is the question. According to insurance statistics, this person's car insurance was once over $125,000 a year. Who was this person? That's
Really?
interesting. Can you
Wow.
imagine $125,000 a year? That's amazing. Okay, we're going to cut to the third and final trivia question. Now, Robert, you should know this one. Trapper John, MD, was a spinoff of what TV show? And we will be right back. Hey.
Should but don't.
For our senior co-host.
Should but don't.
You don't know that
Trapper-
one?
No.
Oh, you know that? Oh, come
Probably will
on.
when you tell me, but
What were you know that?
Of course.
Okay.
they're going to keep me in suspense.
Yeah, you can keep you in suspenders.
Sergeant Preston of the Yukon.
That guy hosts the real Trapper hosts an investment show, right? Wayne Rogers.
Does he really?
Yeah, on Fox. He has a website on Fox. He's on that Fox Bulls and Bears. Wayne Rogers. And, yeah.
Yeah. Is he doing that now? Because I've read that he's like this great entrepreneur. You know?
Right. No, he owns a bunch of
That's
businesses,
about him.
but
That's right.
he's always on there. Who's the guy
He
who
was
was
on like Inc. magazine a couple
Yeah.
years ago or
Yeah.
something.
There's a guy with George
Success.
Soros who's always on there. He has the bow tie. Jim, I forget his name, but he's on there with Wayne Rogers.
shows.
They, well, I watch him because that's where people.
Well, because you would watch them, but like I'm a real estate
What
guy. I don't
shows George
care
Soros?
about
You
stocks.
would
Is that-
watch that.
Well, Soros is
I
on
know.
Bloomberg. This is talking to Euro, but
Just the way you said it, I just had
he had
would.
his
Watch
partner
that.
Yeah,
is
you
a
would.
big commodities
You know,
trader.
It's so funny. It depends.
And people
on,
always wonder, like, does he invest his own money or does he just talk about it? It's kind of
Okay,
funny.
this
so.
comes from a Yiddish book. All right, it depends on how you put your emphasis, right? And if you just read it, it's 2 tickets for her concert I should buy. Now you could do that. 2 tickets for her concert I should buy, or two tickets for her concert. All right, depending on how two tickets for her concert I should buy versus you know, right. So it depends on how you put the emphasis, and that's from the Yiddish book of the joys of Yiddish.
Everything you want to know about Yiddish, but we're afraid to ask.
That's right, exactly. Okay, so let me figure out this segment here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
So I,
Ready? And as Jackie's Gleason used to say, away
We go.
we go. Very good. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt, Robert Chitt, and our special guest, Lou Bamal. You like the way I say that? Lou Bamal. And when we cut to the third commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Trapper John, MD, was a spinoff of what TV show? Robert,
I
come
pass.
on. Come on.
Come on.
Go ahead.
MASH.
MASH.
Yeah.
Your favorite show. My favorite show. Well, one of
Our
my
senior
favorite
co-host did not
Didn't
know
know
that.
shows. Didn't know that. And Mark, you've got a very interesting article there.
Well, this week in Bloomberg, I thought this was, I like the headline. It said, home prices rise in glamour cities, including San Francisco. So I didn't know if you guys knew it,
They
but
haven't
we
been
live
to
in a
Tenderloin.
glamour city.
Yeah, they haven't been to Tenderloin lately.
But it was just interesting in that, we've talked about the inventory really tightening up, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that even though there's a huge shadow inventory of non-performing home loans out there, the banks have not been foreclosing at the rate they were foreclosing a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. They've really slowed that down. Fewer homes are going to auction, meaning fewer homes are becoming bank-owned. and therefore fewer homes are being released on the market for sale. And that, combined with the fact that people who want to sell are underwater and therefore can't sell their homes, we have a very, very low inventory of product right now, and that is causing a little mini bubble, not necessarily a a return of a strong real estate market, but just simply supply and demand is causing prices to increase. And it's just very interesting that prices are up annually in San Francisco. It says here in the article, San Francisco home prices rose at a 16% annual rate in the 3 months that ended April. So,
Wow.
so that's
tax
just
season.
yeah,
Wow.
and that's according to Kay Schiller, which is one of the experts in tracking this information. So, I just and again, I think it's a false bubble, really, and the big fear is okay, well, what are banks going to do with all that those performing home loans out there?
I don't know that San Francisco or the Bay Area in general is a false bubble. I mean, it didn't get hit anywhere near as hard as almost everywhere else in the country did when real estate prices,
true.
even say in Marin County, went down 20, 35%, and the city hardly got hit at all. Very little.
Well, back up to that article, there was a follow-up piece. I saw another publication, and they're talking about one of the things driving it were two main components. One was that the mid-market neighborhood, where I think Twitter and Zynga are located, and they got exempted from the city payroll tax. And they said now, like, the Mission's blowing up, and people are wanting to live in the Mission, and the rents in the Mission are huge. I was talking to someone down there this week. They said it's unbelievable. I mean, you're getting $2,500 for a flat in the Mission now. That was unheard of a couple years ago. And then secondly, I don't know if you guys are in the city a lot. I'm in there for business, but they have these buses going through town. You're like, that's not a tourist bus. That's not a muni bus. It's not hitting anybody. It is. Pardon, sorry. It's actually a bus going to Google or some of the other campuses down in the South Bay, and there's a route they run around the city, like through Noe Valley or through Glen Park. Huh. And actually, it was on the news this week. If you have a home in that neighborhood within walking distance, within 2 or 3 blocks of those stops, it's a gold mine.
Yeah, it says here.
rental, yeah.
You're absolutely right. It says talked about the Noe Valley and Dolores Heights neighborhood. Multiple offers. Here it talks about a fixer 3-bedroom had 12 bids and is in contract for more than $1.5 million. That's just unbelievable for a fixer 3-bedroom. So,
Yeah, no, it's the city's driving itself right now. It's really amazing.
That is incredible.
It's an own microeconomy.
Okay, Robert, you were telling us off air something about paint and the lack thereof.
Oh, this
Quick little story
was
there.
sort of made my day this morning. I went to the
Made
paint
your
store and hadn't been there for a long time, and the prices were a shock to me how expensive paint is. And the gentleman at the paint store said that their store is a big national store, and they almost ran out of paint last year. They almost didn't have enough paint to supply their clients. And the reason was partially that all the ingredients that are going into makeup paint are limited compared to what they used to be, and there's markets. We're now in a world economy, and China is buying up those ingredients more than they ever used to, and India is buying up those ingredients. And one of the ingredients is a surfactant, which is used in paint. And I remember hearing that word as he reminded me that when the oil spill in the Gulf last year, they tried to put chemicals into the water to make the oil coalesce and drop to the bottom, and that was surfactants, the same surfactants that are used in paint. So it just made me realize how in this world we're in, it really is a global world, and we are not insulated from what's going on all over
Is China,
the
like,
world.
are they beautifying the country by painting it, other than drab green?
I think it's mostly primer.
That's my favorite color.
So we were so close to running out of paint last year, and the public didn't even know it. It was almost like the
No.
Bay of Pigs.
And now, if
It's
they
like-
could get rid of it, if they could get rid of spray paint so that they
Yeah.
don't get all that graffiti, I wouldn't be too upset with that. They should make spray paint like $100 a can. Then maybe a lot of these yahoos that were trying to beautify the city with their graffiti.
Oh, for the artists.
Or the artists, yeah,
Right,
exactly.
no.
That's what we call
whenever
them,
whenever they
artists.
paint a tree, man, it just breaks me because they have to cut the tree apart sometimes to get that paint off. It's awful.
I haven't
It's
seen it too much on trees. I usually
Oh,
see it on
in the
buildings.
city? Oh man, they get it in the trees and it's
Oh.
awful.
Oh, that
it's
is
really
awful.
disturbing. They scrape the tree and sometimes they damage it. It's just really a bad thing. It's just not.
I mean, it
I'm
doesn't
not
do
young
anybody
anymore,
any
so.
good.
Yeah.
Before we cut out for our thoughts for the day, any last words of wisdom for our listeners there, Lou?
Well, I'd say this: patience rules the day. We could get through this and be okay, and that's where you have to
Good
be
poet.
careful.
Well, yeah, you didn't even know it.
That's the way it works right now. Poetry is the only thing leading us to any real promise in the future. But
Can I invest in poetry?
yeah, well, yeah, collectibles are a hedge fund item. I know that much. But the end result is this: you got to hold on. Not because there's no better option. I'll do the Dana Carvey, 1,000 points of light. And again,
Yeah.
the real truth of it is, if things end up being okay or even moderately slow, it is a big if. I will admit it's a big if, but you have to be patient. If it comes through, we'll be all right.
All right. Here are our thoughts for the day, and on that, words of wisdom. Who tastes dog food when it has a new and improved flavor?
I love alcohol.
And the things that come to those who wait may be the things left by those who got there first. Think
Right.
about that. And with that imparted wisdom, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
Oh.
Good job.